Hey, everybody. Welcome. Today, I want to talk a little bit about Democrats and their voting issues they're having. We're going to start off here with this clip from Megyn Kelly, where she kind of sums up the state that the Democratic Party is in right now. And it's not good. It's not good at all. It's not apparent. It doesn't appear to be getting any better. The Republicans are gaining voters. Democrats are losing voters. Democrats historically always had an advantage over Republicans of more registered voters, and now it seems to be that that's pretty much a wash now. They're pretty much equal. So let's take a look at this clip. She does a good summary of an article here, and then we'll talk.
Piece Out of Power. This hit today by Shane Goldmacher with Jonah Smith and is going on about the voter registration crisis that the Democrats are facing. The subhead is "The party is bleeding support beyond the ballot box," according to a new analysis. And the highlights of this thing show as follows. While there are still more Democrats registered nationwide than Republicans, though they point out that's simply because in states like California, you can register by party, whereas in a lot of red states, you can't. So that's even questionable. They say, nonetheless, for the first time since 2018, more new voters nationwide chose to be Republicans than Democrats last year. Of the 30 states that track voter registration by political party, Democrats lost ground to Republicans in every single one between 2020 and 2024, and often by a lot. That 4-year swing toward the Republicans adds up to 4.5 million voters, a deep political hole that could take years for Democrats to climb out from. It goes on to say all 4 presidential battleground states covered by the Times analysis, Arizona, Nevada, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, all of them showed significant Democratic erosion. In North Carolina, Republicans erased roughly 95% of the registration advantage that Democrats held in the fall of 2020. They quote Michael Pruser, who tracks voter registration closely, as the director of data science for Decision Desk HQ, an election analysis site, quote, "I don't want to say the death cycle of the Democratic Party, but there seems to be no end to this. There is no silver lining. There is no cavalry coming across the hill. This is month after month, year after year." That's a red alarm for the Democrat Party, 5-alarm fire, however you want to put it. And to me, it's very interesting because I don't think this is all Trump. I support Donald Trump, but I don't think you can say he did this because the erosion was steady from 2020 to 2024, Mark Halperin, which tells me it's the Democrats that are causing the mass exodus. Your thoughts?
Well, a little bit of both. I applaud the New York Times for finally writing this piece. I'm next month going to publish a story about the decline of network television news and the rise of YouTube. This has been going on for a long time. This is not some breaking news. We were talking about it on Two-Way last fall because the numbers were there. I think that it's partly the Democrats' woke weakness. It's partly Trump. But part of why this happened and why it's continued to happen is the Democrats and their allies in the media live in a blue bubble. This alarm should have been pulled, as my joke suggested, years ago, because it's been happening right before everybody's eyes. But because the press doesn't like to write negative stories about the Democrats, it's only now that they're saying, well, we better confront this because nothing really is being done to address it. As the story says, they don't really have a plan to fix it. Part of this is mechanics. Allies of President Trump were extremely professional and skillful using technology and blood, sweat, and tears to re-register people, get people registered. But part of it is not the mechanics, it's the reality that the Republican brand, partly Trump, has risen with groups that previously were Democratic-leaning groups like younger people, young Black men, young Hispanic men. But part of it is the Democratic brand, coupled with their lack of the mechanics, has really accelerated a trend that is, as the story says, it's not over. and the Democrats currently don't have a circuit breaker.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. This shouldn't come as a surprise really to anybody. I mean, the Democrats tried their hardest to alienate almost every group in the country. They wagged their fingers at everybody. They judged everybody. They tried to police everybody. They tried to act like they were the morally superior ones. They ran way off on the deep end on all the wrong issues. The 4 years under Biden, it just got worse and worse and worse. Started by locking everybody in their houses. I mean, it's not surprising that they would be still losing voters. I mean, they went so hard on the woke crap that they just alienated so many people. And so, I mean, this is really astonishing how badly the Democrats have screwed up. So, like Megyn was saying, every single state that tracks voter registration, which there are 30, in every single state, the Democrats have lost voters and the Republicans have gained voters. And when you add it all up, Democrats have lost about 2.1 million and Republicans gained 2.4 million. So that's a net swing of 5 million votes. That's huge. That is massive. So, I mean, I guess congratulations to the Democrats, because that's pretty impressive, actually, to pull off the nuking of your own party that well. It's almost as if it was done deliberately, but it was just purely through incompetence and ideology and cramming their mythology down everybody's throat. So congratulations, Democrats. You lost so well. You're like the champions of losing, and you're still losing. Take a look at this chart. This is a chart that New York Times, I believe this is from the New York Times, they put out. This is a graphic of what's going on. These are the 30 states, okay, that do voter registration, that lets you identify your party in voter registration. So you can see on the left there that the blue arrows are all going down. This is the percentage, this is the number of registered voters that they've lost. Longer the arrow, the more they've lost. And then on the right, you see the Republicans, and the arrows are all going up that they've gained. Well, they're not necessarily, because there's some independents that gained the Democrat, and so not necessarily all of them went up in the Republicans, but all of them did go down in Democratic. So even with new registrants, the Dems are down to 29% in 2024 from 36% in the past. So it's really this whole demographic shift. And so a lot of these voters do shift to independent, but then there's a lot of independents that are shifting to Republican. So the Republicans have gained more voters than the Democrats have lost. And so, I mean, you guys have probably heard a lot of these stats, like the Hispanic vote, for example. It was nearly split. It was 51-48 Harris-Trump. That's impressive. I wouldn't have guessed that. So for people who think that the illegal immigration and the opening of the borders was to pack these Democrat cities with more voters, it doesn't seem that that's necessarily turning out that way. I guess it's probably more for census reasons, because illegals are counted in the census. So you get more political power, more representation that way, because the illegals are bringing more to you. So also the black vote for GOP doubled with Trump. It went from 8% to 15%. And Asian Americans also went much higher for Trump, I believe 45%. So men definitely trended way more for the GOP, men of all demographics, and especially young men. And the difference between young men and young women is staggering. I don't have the numbers with me, but it's something like 70% of them are lean conservative, and the exact opposite for young women. They're like 70 or 80% of them lean left. So they've got a huge divide in their generation. But this chart, I thought, really showed well what's all going on with this and how bad this is for the Democrats. They didn't even get one state. They didn't gain any in even one state. How in the world are they going to overcome something like that? I don't think they're going to be able to. I think that it's going to take something massive, and it's probably not going to work with Trump light Gavin Newsom trying to act like a tough guy. So they're not really building a future. They're just kind of bleeding out. So, okay. Well, so speaking of Gavin Newsom, he was on I don't know. He was on a video here, on a call or on whatever, on a conference with his new influencers. And
we are incredible.
So while Democrats are losing voters, their big genius plan is to redraw lines. And so here's Gavin Newsom with his pack of TikTok influencers explaining how they're going to fight Texas, and that's how they're going to get back into power, because California is going to gerrymander just like Texas is, because it's not fair. The funny thing is that California is already so redistricted and gerrymandered. There really isn't much for them, or for any blue states for that matter. If they all wanted to do it, it wouldn't really work out. But let's take a look at what tough guy Newsom, Trump wannabe, has to say.
We are incredibly honored to be joined on the Siren Podcast by the governor of California, Governor Gavin Newsom. Welcome to the Siren Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I mean, you're making some news. You're a very busy man. So let's just jump right on in. Can you please explain to our audience what you're doing in the state of California regarding the potential redistricting of your congressional maps, and why this may be something you have to do?
Well, we're fighting fire with fire. We don't want to do this. But to your point, your question rather, we have to do it at peril, being judged not only not to have lived, but to be judged.
What choice does he
watching democracy slip from right out underneath us. The reality is it's not just Texas that Donald Trump believes he's entitled to 5 congressional seats. He has sent his vice president to Indiana. He's making the case not just to what's going on up in Ohio, but Florida, Missouri, and other states. I imagine it's just the beginning. What, as we speak, is occurring in real time in Texas. And so my mindset, our mindset here in California, is one of accountability, responsibility. We have agency. We're not bystanders. We can shape the future. And by taking some responsibility and moving assertively, as we have with the California legislature that just yesterday introduced a special election, a constitutional amendment that will in essence nullify the 5 votes that they claim to be picking up in Texas, by asking the voters in a transparent and temporary way to make a determination for themselves to change our maps mid-decade in response to what occurred in Texas on November 4th.
So I don't know how anybody can really stand Gavin Newsom. He seems like such a phony. It feels like he's just playing a part. Like there's not really any depth to what he believes or what he thinks or who he is as a person. He just comes across as kind of smarmy and shallow, superficial, image concerned only with his image, not really with ideas or results. It doesn't seem like he's done that great of a job as governor, but now he's sort of in the forefront of the Democratic presidential candidates. And, I wouldn't be surprised if he get it. He seems like just a kind of a dope that would not really inspire people to follow him all that much. But, he's talking about gerrymandering California more, and they could pick up 5 seats to offset the 5 seats of Texas. And that may be true. In a gigantic populous state like California, you would think that maybe they'd be able to pick up some more, but they can't, because they've already rigged the map so much that there's no coming back. They've been doing this for years, and the Republicans have been behind on this. Although morons like Newsom try to spin it as if this is a GOP, this is a Republican thing, that they're all about cheating and gerrymandering. They obviously they do it too, but haven't done it to the extent that these blue states have done it. So the Brennan Center has done a study on this, and they have concluded that there's probably about a 16-seat GOP advantage if we got into a gerrymandering war. And so tough guy Newsom here, acting like he's saving democracy. Why are the Democrats saying this crap all the time? Oh, we're saving democracy, whatever. So dumb. So if every state max gerrymandered, the GOP would net from 10 to 15 more nationwide, because the Dems can only squeeze a handful more. New York and California are basically already maxed. And for everybody who thinks that here, let me show you. This is the map. This is by the New York Times. This is states that could redraw their maps. So here we've got Illinois, California, Oregon, Maryland for the blue, for the Dems. And then look at all those red states. They're not fully gerrymandered yet. I don't think Newsom wants to get into this, because I don't think the Republicans are putting up with this stuff anymore. Especially now that the registered voters on both sides are so equal. So a lot of people have moved out of these blue states to red states like Texas and Florida. And so they're switching some of the voting demographics. So the Dems try to scream they're saving democracy while breaking democracy harder. So the Republicans have an advantage because they don't have as many safeguards in their states against this stuff. California claims to have an independent commission that it allows or doesn't allow redistricting, but it's just packed full of Democrats, so it's kind of pointless. So this is also because, like I said, the population shifts. The blue states are losing population, they're losing seats, and the red states are gaining. So, and for those of you who don't believe me that the Democrats are the ones who are the gerrymanderers and have been doing it for a long time, take a look at this. So this is the breakdown of Democrat states. Massachusetts, for example, 36% of the voters are Republican, and yet they have no seats. Connecticut, 42% Republican, no seats. Maine, 46% Republican, no seats. Look at this, 46% Republican, no seats. 48, New Hampshire, 48% Republican, and yet no Republican seats. 50%. Rhode Island, Vermont, 32, 38%, 42%. And then we get down here to California. California is 38% Republican, but they only have 9 of 52 seats, so it's only represented 21%. Illinois is 44% Republican, but only 17% of their seats are Republican because they gerrymandered the shit out of it. New York's 43% Republican. Would you have even guessed that it would be that high? And they've actually done a little fairer job. It's only at least 27% of the seats there are Republican. So this is just, shows what the Democrats have been up to for a long time. And the Republicans they're playing hardball now too. And the Democrats don't like it. They're squealing, they're kicking, they're screaming. It's crazy. And so in Texas is a big fight, obviously, that you're probably aware of. And, what's her name? She's been locked up in the state house. Nicole, crap, I'm forgetting her name. But anyway, I've got a clip of her, actually. Let's take a look at this, because the Democrats are just all kinds of pissed off about what's going on in Texas, as they should be, and as the Republicans would be if the opposite was happening. This is what politics is. It's a battle, it's a war, it's a fight, and this is how it goes.
Chairman, are you aware that during slavery, blacks fled? Are you aware that during the slavery times, blacks fled? They ran. So
she was locked in the state house is what they call it, legislature, where the legislature meets, because she wasn't allowed to leave. They threatened to arrest her if she did, so she stayed there overnight. And now she's addressing the Speaker of the House.
Chairman, are you aware that during slavery, blacks fled? Are you aware that during the slavery times, blacks fled? They ran away.
I can't hear you very well.
Are you aware that when there was slavery times, blacks fled? During the Nazi times, Jewish people fled. They fled their oppressor.
It's so dumb. She's comparing trying to block the Texas redistricting to slavery and the Holocaust. I mean, with this kind of nonsense, the Democrats are just going to keep bleeding voters because it's so stupid, it's so contrived, it's so fake, and everybody can see right through it. You're just trying to, you're cheapening slavery, how bad it was. If you're comparing it to having to stay overnight in a Capitol building, if you're talking about five House seats is the same as being owned by another person, what the freak? Who gives these people microphones and authority? They are just, imagine if Republicans said something crazy like that. They'd be crucified. Oh, well. Anyway, so crazy stuff's going on in Texas. These people are nuts. There's this guy who's a tough guy. So while Newsom's playing map maker, we've got the fringe left out here calling for violence, as they do. The left are the violent ones. The right's not nearly as violent as the left. I mean, look at BLM and all this nonsense, Antifa. They're killing, they're murdering, they're burning stuff down. They're constantly talking about violence online and, go in there and, kill this guy, kill that guy. We need to take back whatever. So let's take a listen to this moron.
I'm going to say this very clearly. This might get me banned or restriction, but this is bigger than that. So this is what I'm asking. Anyone in Texas that's against this shit, that's armed, get to the State House and demand the release of Nicole Collier. If they will not release her, then you know what? Shoot them fucking dead, because they're fucking taking her hostage. This is against the law. This is an act of terrorism. Anyone trying to keep Nicole Collier from leaving the State House is a terrorist. They're an enemy of the state. They need to be shot fucking dead. Be a good Samaritan. Put these fucking terrorists down unless they agree to release her.
I mean, how unhinged is this guy? He's calling for murdering people over redistricting. And it's not illegal. It's in their constitution. I mean, I got to bring this guy back up here. Does this guy live in his car or something? I mean, this guy's probably a complete loser that has nothing going for him. He's looking for something to inspire him, and he's heading down to Texas with threats of violence because he doesn't like how they're acting. He doesn't like that the Republicans are doing what the Democrats have been doing for decades. Does he think the Democrats should be murdered? No, because he's all worked up with all these, because of all these stupid narratives that the Democrats have been feeding him, all the lies, and he thinks he's a real tough guy. Yeah, tough guy. He's going down there. He's going to show these people. He's going to do something about it while he's living out of his car. I mean, give me a break. These are the kinds of jokers that are making everybody leave the Democratic Party. More theatrics, more performance, more nonsense, no substance. This guy doesn't know anything about anything, but he's calling on people to take guns. And you want to take guns to Texas, and you want to try to fight Texans in Texas? What? That's, yeah, like the state with the most guns, and everybody's carrying one around. You'd get your ass kicked instantaneously. You'd be dead. But then I guess you probably have fantasies about that and how amazing that would make you to die for such a noble cause. So this moron also is doxing ICE agents, because apparently resisting oppression means harassing people's families at home.
So yeah, this jerk-off pedo state terrorist right here, his name is Brian Macheno, and he's an ICE agent, and this is him unmasked. And also his wife is a labor and delivery nurse. So go ahead, make him famous, and if you see this motherfucker out in public, give him the Cell Block 1 treatment. Catch him when he's alone. Have a nice day, Brian, bitch.
All right. Wow. So moron here is calling for violence against this ICE agent, even calling out his wife's job. And what is this? Is not going to do anything, of course, but it goes to show just the lunacy that's going on. People with their fake outrage that are getting fake whipped up by fake media narratives that these guys are, the Gestapo, and they're like Nazis and all this stupid nonsense. So you get people who are low IQ like this, who don't have any thoughts of their own, and they just latch onto it, and they start threatening violence against people who haven't done anything to them. And then he gets to pat himself on the back, thinking, "Oh, look at me standing up for the innocent, illegal immigrant. Because I love people, I care about people, I'm going to protect them." It's just so stupid. It's not real. When they can't win in Congress, they throw a tantrum, they throw a fit, they get all mad, they've got no self-control. They send a mob to your front yard, they protest, they break stuff. Like, these are like a group of children who can't handle not getting their way. It's not activism, it's harassment. It's mob justice. It's got to stop. Let's see what else we got here.
And
Let's take a look at
despair,
this.
and that's what they're doing in Washington. So I don't really care about to go to a national capital that's not in.
Okay, so this is Scott Jennings talking about the Washington, D.C. stuff. And a bunch of people have, there's lots of videos of people thanking Trump and talking about how much better the city is as a result. And there was stats that, carjackings are down 83% since Trump brought in the National Guard. And yet there's people who claim that it's not gotten any better and that it's gotten worse and that there's too many police and that it's racist and all this kind of stuff. And that's just not the case.
Go to a national capital that's not in disgrace and despair, and that's what they're doing in Washington. So I don't really care about what they think, truthfully.
Let me let Lencia, because she actually lives in D.C. Well, in the D.C. area. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, listen, I live in the DMV area. I am from the area, and listen, you can talk about the numbers that you all have reported on, that crime has come down over the years. And yes, there are people who have felt individual instances. But the bigger issue that a lot of folks are talking about in D.C. is this over-policing of Black communities, Black and brown communities. And we're seeing this as part of a bigger picture of what the Trump administration is doing across the country. And so it's actually not making people feel safer. There are a lot of people who are staying home. The restaurants are feeling it, and people are really concerned. And so I actually disagree with the statement that people don't know what they need when the city has actually come together and started voting people in office to help bring crime down.
This lady, that's so stupid. You know why they're going into the Black areas? Because that's where the crime is. That's a vast, vast majority of where the crime is. It's not racist. And the innocent people in those communities are happy about it because they don't want to live in a war zone where their car's getting stolen. They're not doing anything wrong. Why do you want to punish the Black people who are not criminals by letting these stupid criminals terrorize and harass everybody that's there? It's a small portion of the people commit almost all the problems in these areas. And this is not helpful. Over-policing. Oh, well, because it's over-criminal. There's too much crime. It's crazy. And the people are sick of it. There's tons of videos of these people praising Trump. Thank you for cleaning up our city. We've wanted this for so long and nobody's done anything about it. You know why? Because Democrats are in control of the city and they don't dislike crime. For some reason, they have some weird love affair with criminals and crime. They let it go. They decriminalize things so that people are more incentivized to commit crimes. And then you get morons like this talking on TV about how somehow this is a bad thing because they've got leaders that are bringing crime down. No, they don't. They have leaders who redefine what the crimes are so that they artificially make the stats go down. That's what really happens. Because they're a bunch of shady, self-absorbed, incompetent fools who try, instead of actually doing the work to create the real results, want to artificially create results that look good because they're incompetent morons, can't do their jobs. DC could have taken care of this problem themselves. All these cities that have high crime rates could take care of these problems. They're super rich. They have tons of money. They could easily employ more officers. They could do all kinds of things, but they're reluctant to. And it makes me wonder why. I don't know. I mean, it's a conspiracy theorist could say that it's all deliberate, that they actually, the white elitist liberals are actually trying to destroy the black community or something by not allowing and not wanting to go in there and police it and protect the vast, vast majority of people who live in these areas who are not criminals and just want to go about their lives and not have to worry about getting shot on their way to the store. And that's something that your city should do for you. You shouldn't feel like you're going to get killed going to a movie. But these lawmakers, by far Democrat, don't care. They just simply don't care. They don't do anything about it. It increases. They squeal about some other unrelated topic and try to blame it on that. No, it's not. It's incompetent leadership is what it is. And everybody knows it. And that's why everybody's leaving the Democratic Party, because there's a bunch of incompetent leaders who are buffoons who just make shit up and lie. And you can't, they're just dishonest. And then they get outraged like this lady when somebody tries to come along and actually clean up their mess. And she screams racism. It's sick. Let's take a look at another video here. Now, this is to close out here. Let's look at how entitlement culture reacts to even the tiniest bit of responsibility.
Can someone please help me make sense of this? I've been receiving food stamps for the last 7 years, consistently. I just received a letter in the mail telling me that I now have to do community service hours, at least 15 hours a week. I have to take out of my time, things that I do every day, to do community service so that I can still continue to receive the benefits that I receive. Mind you, I am receiving the maximum benefit. I get $2,000 in food stamps a month. But that is only because I have 3 kids. Now, how do they expect me to be able to do community service hours if I can't even get a regular job? So I'm at risk of losing my food stamp benefits because I'm not putting in effort? Are you serious?
Where do these people think the money for food stamps comes from? Do they have any idea? Have these people ever had any responsibility? Has this lady ever had a job? Well, you shouldn't be expected to do anything. 15 hours of community service. Well, let's figure this out, actually. So she said she gets $2,000 a month. That's a lot. I guess I would have never guessed that it was that high. I didn't know that they gave out that much. Must be maybe per kid. I mean, that's almost $700 per kid. So let's figure this out. Okay, so if she gets $2,000 a month, which that's a lot of food. 12 months, divide that by 52 weeks. So she gets 461 a week. Divide that by 15 hours of community service. She's getting paid $30.77 an hour to go volunteer. That's pretty good pay. That's a lot, you know? And so instead, she'd rather not do anything and then have the person who's working 40 hours a week getting paid $30 give her 15 hours of their pay so that she doesn't have to go do anything. I mean, obviously it's not that direct, but 15 hours. The rest of us are out here working. Why don't you have to? Why don't you have to? Yeah, maybe you have a job. Maybe you don't make that much. I don't know, but you do get paid $2,000 a month for doing nothing. And are you married? Probably not. Have you made bad decisions? Probably. You should be grateful that you're getting $2,000 a month. That is a massive amount of money. That's a crazy amount. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe this is supposed to be a parody or something, and she's making fun of these kinds of people. I can't even tell anymore because when Democrats and lefties and woke people go on here, they sound like somebody that would be making fun of them, but they are actually serious about what they're saying. So sometimes it gets hard to tell when they're being serious and when they're just when somebody's making fun of their position. So why does this lady think that she shouldn't have to work, but everybody else should? How does she think? Where does she think that this money is coming from? Just the money fairies? She's lucky it's only 15 hours for $2,000. I mean, that's impressive. So from losing voters to losing seats to losing their grip on reality, Democrats aren't just underwater, they're drowning. Let's take a look at some of these comments here. Bunch of nonsense. Just a bunch of nonsense. Bunch of moron libs spamming. Just lies. Nobody gets $2,000 a month. Maybe you could be right. I don't know. I mean, I know that's a lot of money. I don't think her kids probably each eat $700 a month in food. That would be quite a bit. Alaska, Lisa Stewart says Alaska has some of the highest food stamp benefits in the country, and people only get about $300 per person per month. I'd like to see somebody try to eat on $10 a month and gas to drive in. $10 a day. Yeah, well, I mean, that sounds more realistic to me as well. $300 per person. But I have seen other videos of people saying it's really high amounts like this. But it's a lot of times they'll have like 6 kids. So maybe that's why. Fascist, yeah. That's the new buzzword that the lefties who that's the easiest way to tell if a lefty is just a complete dipshit. If they say fascist, if they say Hitler, if they say Nazi, then you know that they're just a moron who probably has an 80 IQ. And what are you going to do? There's nothing you can do about it. You just pat them on the head and you say, okay, child, you can go on your way now. Have fun living in your delusional little fantasy world. So That's, you know, it's gotten so old and so tired that it doesn't really affect it. Nobody cares. Go ahead, say whatever. That's about all. The only arguments that the left has left is just name calling. They think that it's going to affect anybody. It doesn't. Nobody cares. And you just make yourself a laughing stock by doing this kind of stuff. I never called Democrats communists and socialists. When did I say that? You're a moron. You just make shit up. So that's what the real psychos on the left do. They just make up their own reality. They just make it up. Hey, if I want this thing to be true, then it's true because I feel like it's true. You know, oh yeah, a guy who dresses like a woman is a woman. Why? Because, well, I want it to be that way. So that's what's going to be reality now. It's the dumbest shit. And you people like you're the reason everybody's leaving the Democrat Party, because they can't stand you people anymore. And they shouldn't. Good riddance. Let you guys have the Democratic Party and keep destroying it the way you have been, and then you'll be crying for the next 2 decades. So, all right, guys, that's all I've got for today. Thanks for joining me.